a beacon that cuts through the darkness. Welcome to Beacon of Truth with your host, Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers.
Hello, everyone. I am Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, and welcome to Beacon of Truth. It's great to be with you. You're listening, of course, on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. It is Monday today, a new week of shows, and today is also the feast day of the great Saint Peter Claver. Boy, what a heroic saint. Obviously, he was born in Spain, but came to the United States to do mission work and was a servant of the slaves that came over on the slave ships. In fact, the reading for vigils today, or the office of readings, is from a letter that he wrote explaining the work that they were doing. And he's explaining how he and his colleagues came to the docks, and the slave ships were coming in, and some of the slaves were laying on the ground naked, almost dead, laying in pools of water or pools of mud. And he went over with his fellow co-workers, and they attended to the slaves and gave them warmth and medicines, and then began to, using signs and symbols, began to teach them about baptism, preparing them for baptism, about the Trinity and the life of the faith. It was interesting in the letter. He said, it makes no sense to try to speak to them, in our language. Because they thought that they were being brought to be eaten. How interesting is that? So they thought they were going to be brought over and they're going to be eaten once they got to the place where they were going. But he talks about the absolute cruelty. He said, they threw their own coats and their own blankets over those slaves that were lying there. And he said, because asking the slave owners would have been a waste of time. So they did it themselves. And, I just really just want to commend all the folks who are fighting for racial justice and equality, for those who are marginalized, for those who don't have a voice to speak for themselves. So we as followers of Jesus Christ have to be the voice for them, right? Whatever you did for the least of my brothers, you did for me, our Lord says. So remember the great Peter Claver. Of course, remember the Knights and the Ladies of Peter Claver as well. It's a organization started by African Americans and Catholics, a thoroughly Catholic organization. In fact, EWTN has been showing both the Knights of Columbus conference and at least some of the opening mass and ceremonies for the Knights of Peter Claver annual convention as well, which I think is wonderful. So let's ask for the intercession of St. Peter Claver to remember those who cannot help themselves, those who are subjected to many kinds of abuses, and because of their race or their color, or because they're different than us. We have to see the image and likeness of God in every person, including that person standing in front of us or standing next to us as well. St. Peter Claver, pray for us. All right, and so this weekend I was in Central California, in Tracy, California, near Modesto, at a men's conference, World Ablaze men's conference. My good friend John Sablon runs the organization, and with his beautiful wife Nicole. His son Keone was there, and Deacon Richard is also helps run the organization as well. It's great to see those guys and be with them. And I gave two strong talks. Men need to be spoken to firmly and directly. And Shalom World was there filming, and I'm sure they may have to cut out a little bit of what I said. It wasn't anything like colorful language or anything like that, but it was a strong message, because I did kind of slap them a little bit spiritually, to wake them up, to stir their souls, to inspire them to become the men who God created them to be, not to be lazy or lethargic or just lay back and let your wife do everything while you sit back and with the remote control in your hand. No. I really want to encourage them, challenge them, and yet still inspire them to be more, right? To not be afraid, to face this culture in the face, and to walk straight forward toward that cross, to be that witness and example like a Saint Joseph in the world today, to stand strong and firm for their faith, to lead their families to heaven. So it was a wonderful, wonderful event. And I'm home today. I got back yesterday, and I'm off tomorrow to speak at the Minnesota State University in Mankato. So I'm going to be speaking to Theology on Tap. This is a return visit. I was there also last year, and I'm also going to be speaking at a high school in Plymouth, Minnesota. Now, I went there last time I spoke with just the men, but now I'm speaking to the whole school, the men and the young women as well, and staff and all that as well. So I'm going back to speak at that high school on Wednesday, and then another men's conference this weekend in Indiana. So busy week for me, but I'm glad to be here bringing you the show every single day. And the show is brought to you by some amazing people working behind the scenes. Of course, we have Matt Gabinski screening calls and Charles Beery doing social media. And on the turntables of production, we have Ace McKay. Ace, how you doing, man?
No, sorry. I'm good. My wife and I celebrated our 6-year date-iversary. We had our very first date 6 years ago yesterday. And it was great because the kids were in rehearsals all day, so we had the whole day. We did the park, and we went to a late lunch. Oh, actually, it was like a late brunch-ish kind of thing. But I was going to ask you, what was your first date with your bride? Which, 30 years ago, hopefully you can remember what you did, where you went.
So, well, our first date was supposed to be, I think, going to a concert, but I kind of blew it off. I did not because I was in the monastery, and I was planning on going back, and she wanted to go on a date, and I said no, but she was persistent, and I said, okay, yeah, I'll go, and then I just didn't show up. So that didn't go well. And so I thought, okay, I'll never hear from her again, and that's the end. But then she called, and she was mad, and so I felt bad, and so I ended up going over there. She was house sitting. It wasn't really a date. I think our first date out was dinner somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly where, but the first time that we got together after I met her at the wedding was just she was house sitting, and I just went over and apologized, tried to make it up to her. So, yeah.
Well, and it's interesting too because the one thing my wife likes to remind me is how I tried to throw all of the spear triggers at the first date because I was at the point in my life where I was like, either you're going to run now so I'm not wasting my time, or you're going to stick around and see what kind of man I really am. So I'm like, I did this and I've lived this, I've done that. And none of it frightened her. She's like, it was a little obnoxious at one point, but she's like, I figured there was something underlining. So you might want to thank the Holy Spirit for keeping me reeled in. But that's just because of the headspace I was in. Like I had my heart broken. I had been through divorce. I just wasn't in a place that I wanted to waste my time. So I totally understand when you try to sabotage something God already has orchestrated. You can't mess it up. He's gonna, will you just stop?
Yeah. It wasn't the most auspicious beginning, but
right.
30 years later, I'm thanking God every day.
Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah, and I was watching some more of your videos.
Yeah.
And I saw you covered "Hammer to Fall."
I did that for
Queen.
You. That was an
thank you, sir.
Homage to my buddy. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's one of my favorite kind of post, the new era of Queen, the '80s era of Queen. That's one of my favorite songs by them. Is "Hammer to Fall."
Well, the Live Aid, stuck with me as a kid.
Oh yeah,
starting off with "Oh," and then rolling right into that song. That just sticks with you after all these years.
Greatest live performances of all time. and almost everybody agrees is one of the best of all time. So it's awesome. Today. Well, go ahead.
I do want to applaud you for wearing your Notre Dame hoodie on coming off the weekend.
I went. Well, I didn't go there to play football, right? So they lost. I heard. I didn't see the game. I don't watch television, so I didn't see the game. But I heard they lost. And for this early in the season at Notre Dame, that's basically the end of the season.
Right. That's right. We're back to the drawing board.
But I'm not heartbroken. I'm wearing this because I just came from working out. I didn't have time to shower, and the show was coming up. I said, the show is more important, so I'll take a shower later. All right. We're talking about artificial intelligence today on Big Issue. Very interesting topic. Looking forward to diving in. Would love to hear from you. Give us a call. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986.
The most original Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
Hello, Journey Home family. Next time, we'll welcome Elvis Gutierrez, a revert to the Catholic Church, to share what led him home. Share the journey next time on EWTN's The Journey Home.
The Journey Home, tonight, 8 Eastern, on EWTN Radio and television.
How many times have you heard it said that the church has been weak and ineffective? G.K. Chesterton says the church has been so powerful and effective that it colored even the things that it had not hoped to influence and changed its enemies as well as its friends. It affects everything it touches. It inspires a life-changing love in its friends and a self-destructive hatred in its enemies. Its enemies will do everything to destroy it, and they end up destroying everything except the church. The Catholic Church, says Chesterton, has endured for 2,000 years, and the world within the church has been more lucid, more level-headed, more reasonable in its hopes, more healthy in its instincts, more humorous and cheerful in the face of fate and death than all the world outside.
Spend more time with the Apostle of Common Sense. Visit chesterton.org for more information.
Just wait for it to drop, man.
That's it.
It's kind of, the little mid-tempo just fall into it kind of groove, you know?
100%.
Laid back, I like that. Again, the beauty and the simplicity.
Right.
Not like not a lot of rips, not a lot of melodic stuff, but just straight ahead. I like that.
Yeah, agreed.
Powerful.
Keep it simple.
That's it. Was it KISS? Keep it simple. Stupid or something like that.
Keep it silly, simple. Is that
all right.
the polite way?
We're talking about artificial intelligence and the church today. Yeah, very interesting topic. And, I've been, slowly but surely getting more into the artificial intelligence thing. I'm not a huge, truth be told, I'm not a huge fan. But it's a tool that's here and is not going away. So I thought we should talk about it, what it is and what it isn't. Some of the applications I think will be wonderful, and some we just need to be careful about. How we approach this thing as people of faith. Not thinking of it as a panacea, or not thinking that this technology has a soul, or anything like that. So, looking forward to our discussion today. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. And don't forget, you can also email us, beacon@EWTN.com. You can also text the letters EWTN to 58177. Wait for a response and text us your first name, your brief question. Remember that message and data rates may apply.
Of course, we want to remind you the Eucharistic Movement, which is stories and pictures from the National Eucharistic Revival, available at the religious catalog now, EWTNRC.com. You want to relive some of the moments if you were there, or you want to definitely see some of the coverage of what you might have missed. Check it out. Again, EWTNRC.com. Remember, use the code word FREE at checkout for $75 or more and get free standard shipping.
right, well, it's time to break open God's Word in the Psalms in this Soulful Psalms segment of Beacon of Truth. This is where we dive into God's Word in the Sefer Telachim, or the Book of Sung Praises, or the Psalms, which we hear every day at Mass. And using the revised Grail Psalms, which are approved for use in the Mass and compiled by the monks of Conception Abbey. And today we're looking at Psalm 31. So this is in Book 1 of the Psalms, Psalms 1 to 41, all attributed to David. So this one, of course, is going to be by David. This is a really long psalm. So we're only going to get through maybe the first 8 or 9 verses or so. All right, so the prescript is the entire first verse of the psalm. For the choir master, a psalm of David. Very simple, right? So David wrote the psalm, gave it to the choir master to put music to. And so we dive in. In you, O Lord, I take refuge. Let me never be put to shame. Here we go. Here, see, typical David. David just dives right in. Lord, let me hide in the shadow of your wings. Right? You are my shelter. You are my refuge. And because I have you as my refuge, I'm not ashamed. See, even though people mock me for standing up for my faith, even though people mock me for my beliefs, I trust in the Lord. Therefore, no matter what happens, I'm never going to be put to shame because my trust is in the Lord. In your justice, David continues, set me free. Incline your ear to me and speedily rescue me. So again, David, usually when David writes psalms when he's in trouble, when he's pursued by Saul in 1 Samuel 18 through 28, he wrote a lot of psalms during that time of persecution. So again, we see here probably David is going through something difficult. And the first thing David does is he's assured that the Lord is with him. Right? He's assured that the Lord is with him. This assurance came very early, remember, with David and Goliath. When he defeated Goliath in 1 Samuel 17. The Lord, he understands, fights with him and for him by his side. So whatever is happening to David here, he doesn't feel free. He said, your justice set me free, because he's trapped. He feels trapped right now. Incline your ear to me and speedily rescue me. Lord, or turn, sometimes he says, turn your face toward me. Right? Because, when someone ignores you, what do? They turn their back on you. That means that's a sign that they're ignoring you. Right? So David kind of feels like maybe the Lord's not turned toward me right now. He's kind of turned away from me. And so he says, incline your ear to me. Turn your head around so your ear is pointing toward my voice. Turn your face toward me so you can see me. Right? So you can see me, Lord. Right? So I can experience you again, Lord. Right? I love that, because it does feel like that. Sometimes God has his back turned toward us, or turned away from us in our pain and in our suffering. And he continues in second part of verse 3, be a rock of refuge for me, a mighty stronghold to save me, right? Because rocks, like, for example, in Doom. Doom? Yeah, Doom. No. What movie am I thinking? Yeah, I think it's Doom. That's one with the worms, those huge, massive worms and stuff.
Yes.
Dune, that's it, Dune. Those massive worms. Where do they seek refuge? On the rocks. So they run from the desert because they can feel the worms can feel the vibration of when they're running in the desert. But what they get to this large outcropping of rock, and that's their safety. And I kind of have that image in my mind when David is speaking about this part of the psalm.
Well, and also in reference to that movie too, like, it was a rite of passage to be able to ride the worm, like, so far or whatever. Like, it was like, okay, now you have proven your worth and your, for the tribe. And so, there's a little bit of that sometimes that I think we feel like, well, until I've done X, I'm not officially a part of this group or this community or whatever.
Yeah. And some cultures have rituals where they have, entrance into a community official or becoming a man. Yeah. Native Americans have the, the Vision Quest. You know, where the young men go out and they're supposed to kind of find this vision, and they're supposed to survive out in the woods, hunt on their own and kill something on their own, and bring the carcass or the skins back to show that look what I did, with my hands. And very similar, like you mentioned in Dune, riding the worm, kind of a rite of passage or a rite of acceptance, But the beautiful thing for us as believers, our rite of acceptance is baptism. We don't have to ride worms or kill anything.
A little less frightening.
Because Jesus was the sacrifice for us. That's the beautiful part. And we participate in that sacrifice and baptism. We enter into the tomb with him and rise to him to new life through that saving stream of baptism in that baptismal font, which is beautiful. And David continues, "For you are my rock, my stronghold. Lead me, guide me, for the sake of your name." Right? Because, Lord, I, in a sense, am representing you. I'm calling myself a Catholic. I'm calling myself a Christian. Your name is in my name, Lord. And I am upholding your values in the midst of this culture, as we've said many, many times, is broken, that's confused, but I'm standing up for you. I'm calling myself Christian, even though it's not popular, especially in this culture today, but I am standing up for Christ. So lead me, guide me. Why? For the sake of your name. Because everything that I'm trying to do is honoring you, Lord. Verse 5, "Release me from the snares they have hidden." Because again, David feels trapped. "For you indeed are my refuge." So it kind of a repetition of verse 3 and verse 4. "Incline your ear to me, rescue me, I feel trapped," right? And then, of course, we have the famous line. Now, think about this. Jesus on the cross, right? He was praying this psalm. How do we know he's praying this particular psalm? Now, think about what we said so far in light of Jesus' crucifixion. "Release me from the snares they have hidden." Now, remember, this is Jesus praying from the cross. "For you indeed are my refuge. Into your hands I commend my spirit. You will redeem me, O Lord, O faithful God." Right? That line is in this psalm written by David. So I would also consider this psalm in a sense a messianic psalm of fulfillment, because this is a psalm where David is talking about incredible suffering. So this is a psalm that Jesus was praying, right, on the cross. Of course, the only part that's recorded is "Into your hands I commend my spirit." But we know that Jesus just would not have just prayed that one line. So this whole psalm is Christ placing himself as the new David, right? As the son of David, praying this psalm while he's being crucified. "You will redeem me, O Lord, O faithful God. You detest those who serve empty idols. As for me, I trust in the Lord." So imagine Jesus going through the most excruciating, humiliating, painful, and embarrassing death imaginable at that time, praying this psalm, seeking refuge in God, even when he's on the cross. Now imagine you going through something difficult and you calling upon the name of the Lord in the midst of your pain. This is what Christ did, and this is what we should do as well. Beautiful. "Let me be glad and rejoice in your mercy, for you have seen my affliction and taken heed of my soul's distress." So, Lord, you see me. You know what's going on. You created me. You know me better than I know myself because you made me. So you thoroughly, Lord, understand what's going on right now. You understand my suffering because your son went through it. You understand that. "You have not left me in the hands of the enemy, but set my feet at large." So, Lord, I have the confidence that you will not leave me where I am right now, that you will help bring me to a place of plenty, that you will help to bring me to a place of fulfillment, that you will help to bring me to a place of peace. I may feel trapped now, but I'm not always going to be here. Lord, because you are leading me someplace. That is the confidence that David had. That's the confidence that our Lord had on the cross. And that's the confidence that we should have as well. Right? That God, and that's why these Psalms, that's why I'm sharing these beautiful Psalms with you. Because you may think, well, I'm feeling despondent right now. I'm feeling alone right now. Pick up the scriptures and dive into the Psalms. So now you know that, okay, when I'm feeling that not that close to God, I feel that I'm away from God, that God has, in a sense, turned his back on me. This is the Psalm you pray for healing and never forgetting God's mercy and forgiveness. All right, we're talking about artificial intelligence and the church. They would love to hear your thoughts on this. 833-288-EWTN. If you missed any of today's show or want to share it with someone, you can find Beacon of Truth on demand at EWTN.com/radio.
Are you prepared to vote?
Citizens have a co-responsibility for society. The moral theology tradition teaches that one may not vote for an enemy of religion or of freedom, except to exclude a worse enemy of religion and of freedom.
Learn more so you're prepared when you vote this November. Visit EWTN.com/vote for everything Catholic voters need to know before picking up a ballot.
Father Benedict Groeschel.
I often go back to my childhood. In church, we love to be reverent to Christ present in the Eucharist, to Christ on the cross. But I was also impressed by our sisters who taught us in school to pray before every class, to pray for what we needed. Because we could be irreverent, we were taught to go to confession on Saturday and to ask ourselves, did we say our prayers well and without distraction? All this was reverence. Now what do I see? I hear one irreverence after another. And week after week, month after month, the media churns out things that make fun of religion in general and make fun of Christianity in particular, and particularly make fun of the Catholic Church. No class. Absolutely no class.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
EWTN.
Father Cedric Pizzania answers your questions about the afterlife. Coming up tomorrow on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on most of these EWTN stations. And now back to Beacon of Truth with Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers.
Yeah, I love that guitar over the top of the progression there, man. And see, simple.
Yeah. Riding those high notes, too.
Yeah, doing those multiple string bends.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that, yeah.
I used to love, when I was in college, I used to be in a band, so before our set, we would go down the strip wherever we were playing, and we would listen to other bands. And it was always the guitar that would always draw us in, whether it was worth walking into, it's like, oh, what's that down there? Where's that coming from?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the movement of music.
Yes. Love it, man. See, we're some good stuff, man. Love this bumper music. This is good stuff.
We got to remember to do the radio show.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about artificial intelligence and the church today on Beacon of Truth. I am your host, Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, and we're going to be talking about the vast and growing influence of this technology, artificial intelligence, in our world, and of course, what implications does it have for the church? Would love to hear from you today. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986.
I want to say congratulations to our partners at Ave Maria Radio, of course, serving Michigan with 4 stations, but celebrating 28 years with their partnership with EWTN Radio. So great shows like More to Life, Ave Maria in the afternoon. I mean, just a ton of great programming, all because of Mike Jones and his team. So congratulations to Ave Maria from all of your friends here at EWTN Radio.
All right. Well, artificial intelligence is a reality. As I mentioned in the earlier part of the show, that it's here to stay. It's not going away. And whether you recognize it or not, you probably have already had some kind of interaction with artificial intelligence. For example, if you use Siri, if you use Alexa, if you use Google Assistant, you are interacting with artificial intelligence. When you type an email in Gmail and it finishes the sentence for you, you are interacting with artificial intelligence. When you call, I don't know, your bank or credit card company, whatever, you hardly talk to a human being anymore. You are interacting with artificial intelligence. Driverless cars, Tesla, Waymo or Beep, right? These are Waymo and Beep are like kind of like Uber or Lyft, except there's no one driving, except that the car drives itself. My daughter is just taking a job in San Francisco, and she's taken Waymo with no driver. I said, ooh, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I trust the technology enough for that. If you have smart technology in your home, you could turn on your lights by using an app on your phone, or turn on your oven, or start your car, or whatever it is. You're interacting with artificial intelligence. If you use ChatGPT, AI chatbot, OpenAI. In fact, I know for a fact there are Catholic radio stations that are using those technologies for email marketing campaigns. Or I know that people use them to supplement or to do research for essays or articles that they write, or biographies that they're compiling. They're using that technology, artificial intelligence. Believe this or not, there are even some Protestant services that you can do online using artificial intelligence as the pastor. So there is no human being running the worship service. It is all artificial intelligence. I, for one, am grateful to God we do not have that in the Catholic Church. The holy sacrifice of the Mass with a priest. You cannot go to confession, by the way, with artificial intelligence. That ain't happening. Okay? So we have our first call talking about artificial intelligence. Mark is calling from Central California, watching and listening on YouTube. Mark, welcome to Beacon of Truth.
Hey, thank you, Deacon. I love the show. Love the large spectrum of topics you guys cover. You already have answered my question, which was, is it permissible to use AI or artificial intelligence as a Catholic? I didn't even realize we already use a lot of it. But I guess my modified question now would be, what would be the limitations of using AI, such as like using prompts and, trying to, recreate certain things? Can you kind of touch on that?
Yeah. So, and I'll answer that your question by going a little deeper into what AI is and what it isn't. Okay? Because, like Mark, most people, when they think of artificial intelligence, the first thing in their mind they go to is Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? in the robots that are going to come and kill everybody. I mean, that's what they think of artificial intelligence, or the Matrix. Where machines become so intelligent that they, in a sense, form a conscience and begin to recognize that they are more powerful than their creator, right? A Terminator, right? The Terminator series. So where artificial. So that's where a lot of people think that artificial intelligence is. But I gave you some simple examples of where it is now. The question is, do people think it's going to get there, get to that level of a Matrix, or get to that level of Terminator? So here's the thing: AI is not and can never be a conscious being with the attributes of a human person. You can create a robot, you can create intelligence that will mock, human actions, or be able to pick up things and move things, or drive cars, or whatever. What's that other thinking of Will Smith movie, I, Robot, right? Another one. Another was iRobot movies where the robots come to life and all that kind of stuff. But look, the way that things, in other words, they can never be alive. They can never have a soul, because soul comes from God. God's the creator. So when we create this kind of technology, we cannot make the mistake of thinking that we're God, that we're somehow being God, and we're infusing this machine with our soul. We may be able to be given it sophisticated mathematical computations to be able to mimic human language, human movement, mathematical computation, all those kinds of things. That's fine, but it can never have a soul. You may be able to mock emotions, but it can never have emotions because they're not human beings. That can never happen because the soul comes from God. A human being cannot endow a machine or artificial intelligence with a soul. So it can never, ever be a human person. Therefore, we should not treat them as human. What's that movie? Because it was one of those movies like you watch all the movies on the plane. Now you watching the movies like, okay, I guess I'll watch this one. Her, right, where the guy kind of falls in love with artificial intelligence, like an Alexa in his house.
Yeah.
He falls in love with it or has a relationship with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what kind of foolishness is this? But again, these are the things that are trying to influence people's understanding of what artificial intelligence is.
Yeah, and there's even a new movie that I haven't seen yet, but I've heard crazy things about called Afraid. And it's the whole idea of when you have your whole smart home and they know all this information about you and they're listening to all your conversations, and then they start to manipulate and play into, and of course it has an evil aspect to it, but that's playing on all of our fears of what it could. It's the whole Terminator fear mindset. But I mean, again, we can't let anything new, especially technology, play into the fear of, well, what if? Well, and then you stay away from the good that can come from the advancement of technology. Because again, we say it on this show all the time. Everything comes from God. Everything belongs to God. So in the same way that prescription medication can help heal you, also AI can help educate you, deepen your walk with Him. There are things that can be used in a good manner. It's just a matter of how we choose to use those things and not be run by the fear.
That's right. And remember also that AI does not possess a soul, therefore it doesn't have the spiritual faculty of intellect or will.
Right.
It can never understand, intend, ponder, advise, discern. It cannot feel, they cannot love, hate, have compassion, sorrow, or care about others.
Yep.
It can't. Now, the movies that we're talking about, that's science fiction.
Right.
Right? That's
Agreed.
science fiction. And so people, and again, Tim on YouTube agrees. I may be just too old and suspicious, but all I can think of with AI is Terminator, right? Because these movies are influencing. Think of okay, we can't use AI because look at what the future's going to bring. That's science fiction. That's not reality. We're talking reality here.
Yeah.
Okay. It never will have a consciousness or conscience, so it can't have any intrinsic moral compass to guide human actions because it's not human. You may be able to look human, act human, but it's not human. Yeah. They cannot be inspired. They cannot experience the light of faith, have wisdom. It's a tool. All right? It's a tool. And it's a tool that's a very sophisticated tool that shows the genius of human ingenuity, but that's all it is.
So let me ask you this, as you're talking the intellect of it, as someone who now has a smart kitchen, give us the good, bad, and woes of, making your meals for it. Like, what is that? I can't begin to comprehend what that would look like.
I haven't really used that much because I'm traveling quite a bit right now. But it could turn on the stove. Like you could be another part of the house or somewhere else. Like, I'm bringing home a pizza to heat up. Like Papa Murphy something. I need to heat the oven up. You can do it remotely with an app on your phone.
All right.
Get the oven going. Or make more ice or whatever it is, and I'm not. I mean, again, that's artificial intelligence. I think that's great. I think those are wonderful tools.
Sure.
I mean, when you can use something like that to help you with everyday kinds of things in life, to make processes more efficient.
Yeah.
To create more efficiencies within systems. I think those are good things. I have no problem with that at all. To make life easier, in certain I think that's all fine. To augment human capabilities, not to take the place of, but to augment human capabilities, not to replace them, because every human being is unique and irreplaceable. So you can't replace a human with a machine, but you can use a machine to augment certain. For example, there's some technologies coming right now with people who are in wheelchairs using this technology to help do things around the house for them because they can't. That's great.
Yeah.
Or whatever technology we can use to move our faith forward. I think those are great.
Well, and I love even like something as simple. All we have at our house is smart bulbs, but to be able to, tell, Siri to turn the lights on, and then before I even get into the room, they're there or they're at the perfect, it's like I can say, put them at half, or 50%, and she'll dim the lights. And so, it's those kinds of things. I know those sound like little things, but as a kid, like to me, artificial intelligence was, like the smartwatch was being able to, talk to my friends. Hey, Batman, what's up, Robin? Like that was what we were as kids. So when that technology became with us, like, yes, we're finally spies. We can talk, And so again, it becomes the toys, right? And that to me, that's the side that's fun, is to be able to have the playful side of it, or even the convenient side of it, because there are certain things that, I don't want to do. So if I don't want to cook a meal, it's like, hey, heat up the oven so I can just pop in some, pizza rolls or something. But
exactly.
Anything that's convenient I'm all about that.
Well, we're talking about artificial intelligence and the church today. Would love to hear from you. What's your big experience using AI, using artificial intelligence in your life of faith? 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Maybe you have some questions about how maybe some moral repercussions of artificial intelligence. Let's talk about it. 833-288-EWTN. Lulu on YouTube, Deacon Harold, there is now an app where you can put in information of your dead loved one, and you can text it, and it will reply to you in their lingo. It mimics them. What? That's correct. I've not heard of that. There's an app so if you're someone that you love dies, say your mom dies, right? My mom died back in 2009. So I can do this app, and I can text and it'll respond back to me like my mom would. Woo! See, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I mean, it's always good to remember the dead. That's why we have photos, in fact, one of the best things I have from my mom, an artifact, if you will, is that my mom called in to Mother Angelica Live when we were kids, and she was, single mom. I think she was trying to get some advice from Mother Angelica about raising 3 boys by herself, and someone said, and I have it somewhere in, I'm gonna have to find that episode because I could actually hear my mother's voice talking to Mother Angelica. That's absolutely awesome, but having an app that almost sounds like the person's back from the dead, don't know about that. Okay. Now, of course, when we talk about this technology, we absolutely cannot use this technology for things like abortion or in vitro fertilization or so-called gender transition surgeries or human embryonic stem cell research or anything like that. So, look, and the thing that comes up is this: just because you can do something technologically wise doesn't mean you should do something, right? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. We have principles, and for us as Catholics, there's a principle of double effect, right? Engaging in an action has potential a good outcome and an evil outcome. So how do you participate in an act in there's 4 basic principles to the principle of double effect. So we need to apply Catholic thoughts, Catholic moral theology, Catholic ethical principles into the use of artificial intelligence, so it doesn't become our God. So we rely so much on the tech that we lose the human connection. That's my one fear with this stuff, is that we rely so much on it that we lose the human connection. Charles Beery is saying that that app that is called Story File. Story File, where you can communicate with your dead loved one. Not for me. Okay, but it may be that may be interesting for some of you guys as well. Again, we're talking about artificial intelligence in the church today. Would love to hear from you. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Again, artificial intelligence is being used in high schools, in universities, again, as a way to supplement, as a way to provide additional information. Now, the other thing you've got to be careful of is when you writing papers and things like that, where you have the artificial intelligence write your paper for you. Where's the creativity? Where's the thought? Ace and I have talked about this when it comes to music. Now you could do some cool things with AI that will help you, again, supplement maybe an idea in your head. You're able to flesh that idea out more now with the AI. That's fine. It's just like I was mentioning before. Like when I was learning to play guitar, and I hear a solo that I'm interested, I'm learning how to play that solo. There was no YouTube. There was no tech back then. You had to listen and try to figure out how to get that same sound, or how to emulate that technique on the guitar without seeing that technique being done. That took drive, that took motivation, that took creativity, that took listening. And I'm just afraid that relying so much on this tech is going to take that away.
Yeah.
That experience of truly engaging. That's why I don't own any ebooks. I have nothing against ebooks. You got ebooks, good for you. No problem with it at all. But for me, I like to have the book in my hand, the feel of the book, turning the pages, underlining. Like it's almost like a relation. It's tangible and it's real, and you engage it, and I'm afraid we're going to lose that with the tech. That's my concern.
Yeah. One of the ways that I've found that it's helpful, especially as a worship leader, is when I'm needing a chart progression for my band for a song we're doing, 3 weeks from now. If I can't find it in a particular key, I can use AI to take the song and then transpose it and then put it in whatever key I need it. So whatever the original key was, then I can say, hey, I need it in E. And then it's the whole, turn the lights on in the room kind of thing. It does that work so that it frees me up to then be able to practice the song rather than sitting down with pen and paper, old school. So those are the tips and tricks that I've found that is helpful when it comes to music. Now, I still want to play it. That's never going to replace. Like, I'm not going to say, hey, Siri, play my drum set for me. I mean, what's the fun in that?
Yeah, even in the, it was one of the coolest scenes I thought in the first Star Wars, that cantina scene. They were playing instruments.
Right.
You think it's supposed to be advanced. It's supposed to be technologically advanced, spaceships and lasers and all that kind of stuff. But in the cantina, they were actually playing music.
Yeah.
Right? There was a band playing, and there was someone singing. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Right? There's some things that, technology may be able to help you sound better, maybe make the instrument more efficient in your head. That's great.
Yeah.
But it can't take the place of that human side of it. I love that.
Agreed.
We have Anna calling from Raleigh, North Carolina, listening on the Divine Mercy Radio app. Anna, welcome to Beacon of Truth.
Thank you. Thank you very much for taking my call. I love your show.
Thank you. Glad you're here.
Thank you. So I was, looking at, there's the positive side and the negative side. One of the negatives is that we're going to see a lot more algorithms in healthcare that may not be nuanced, such as, right now they're using artificial intelligence to read like a urinalysis, and they might start you on one antibiotic and then suggest another, but it's not the practitioner that suggested the antibiotic. It's actually just a message that's saying, well, you should switch.
Ooh, yeah. Wow, really? I did not know. That's something that's being used right now?
That's being used right now, as well as when we have our medical charts, our electronic medical records, It is going to pull information from everywhere, even if we don't want them to. Anywhere you have been seen, this is already happening. If you don't have a lazy practitioner, they're going to pull that information and say, oh, I saw that you went to this store and you did this. You know, so there is a kind of a negative aspect to that because nothing is really you don't get to take ownership of anything anymore like we did in the old days of paper charts. Mm-hmm. Not everyone had to know everything. If I want a second opinion, I don't need you to know that.
So let me ask you this, Anna. Does this algorithm, this artificial intelligence, like it has all the patient's chart information, so they know which medication did this already know? Here's the medications they're currently on. If I sign this, it may have this side effect, or it can't interact with this other medication. So I have to be careful here to make sure I assign only this dosage. I mean, is it that specific?
I mean, it can be. I mean, it's not going to give you something you're allergic to. But on the other hand, say I feel better, and I get this message that I should switch because I'm not susceptible to that other antibiotic. That's not going to be working. And they say, switch to this, but I'm feeling better. My body's actually already working against this infection. Then in order for me to actually check to make sure that am I or am I not supposed to be on this, you're going to have to go track somebody down, like your practitioner, to say, do you want me on this? Should I not be on it? So all the critical thinking is out the window.
Whoa, that's scary. See, this is exactly why I hope in Catholic hospitals, again, I think using some of this technology could be good, but when you're talking about these kinds of interactions, we got to be really careful that we're applying the moral and ethical teachings of the church when it comes to especially patient care, not letting machines tell human beings what they should be doing. Maybe advising, but ultimately the final decision should be in the hands of a human being. And also, we talked about tracking people. That's happening now. I mean, I have conversations with people in the car. Then all of a sudden, when you look at your social media feed, the things that you were talking about are now showing up in that feed. Like, whoa, hold on. How do they know? Because it's listening. We got to be careful. I want to make sure we get Pat in, calling from St. Louis, Missouri, listening on Covenant Radio. Pat, welcome to Beacon of Truth.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing well.
Good. Well, I was just going to add one last thing to your show. I was with my mother-in-law as she was getting a test in a hospital here, and it happened to be Catholic hospital. It was one of the biggest ones around. But we were talking with the nurses, and one of the nurses said she had been sitting and we were talking about the HIPAA forms and stuff like that. And she was sitting in a meeting on ethics sometime in the last year, and somebody actually had the temerity to say with a straight face, what rights do machines have?
Ooh. Well, that's the easy one. They don't have rights because they don't have souls. Now, we have animals that have souls. They don't have a intellect or will like we have. But so we do things like animal rights, right? Because they have souls and they're alive. And human beings, of course, made the image and likeness of God. But machines don't have souls. They're not human beings. Therefore, they're not alive. They don't have rights. So that's as simple as that. All right. Wow. I wish we could go on talking about this. Maybe we'll talk about this again another time down the road. Well, tomorrow we're talking about the church and the Holocaust. Great topic. Remember, you can stream today's show by visiting Podcast Central at EWTN.com/radio. May Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
This is Father Dwight Longenecker. Catholic Radio helps